right, guys. I am back for another live. Oh my goodness, it feels strange. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I think it's been. I was looking earlier. I think it's been like a month since I've gone live. It's been a little too long, and definitely been slacking. Hasn't been good when it comes to the whole live situation. But I'm glad to be back. We do have a decent amount to talk about, but of course, as per usual, I want to hear from everybody. So, I mean, what a crazy situation. The title of this live stream, I was not expecting that to happen today. It's one of the last things I was expecting. But first of all, as per usual, if you're in the chat right now, I know we just started. We're not even a full 2 minutes in, but if you're here, thank you for being here. I'm gonna wait just a little bit in hopes that more people end up joining the stream so we can talk about this with more people. But if you're here right now, I appreciate you. I already see some comments from people from earlier. Donovan, I know you're here. AMD, I see you. So thanks for being here. But man, yeah, I'll be honest. I'll start by saying this. When it comes to DC and Warner Brothers, my God, do they just continue to get more confusing? Um, you know, and it all comes back down to is this a reboot? Is it a soft reboot? And I mean, is it worth doing a soft reboot? Should it just be a straight up reboot? Because there's a lot of baggage that comes with the DCEU. Do you still want to associate with that, even if it means there are specific things that came from the DCEU that were good? So, yeah, there's just a lot of BS going on with that company right now. Lack of communication is another really big thing in my opinion. It's really bad with that company and with the people who manage or are trying to manage that company. It's piss poor. They don't talk at all to the fan base, and the only time they do is when they've made a brain dead decision that has already put them in the hole prior to actually, kind of testing the waters. Do people like this? Do people not? We're going to get all into that. But first of all, I just want to say, Donovan, I saw all your messages here and I saw some of the stuff you DM'd me. But I did not know it was Shark Week pretty much this past week. And I didn't know it ended July 29th. I also did not know Jason Momoa was, as you said, hosting. Yeah, he was hosting it this year. So, I mean, yes. Do people who pay attention to that really care about DC? Maybe not. Although, I will say this. What would have been really interesting is, so I could only assume they got him to host it because, he's Aquaman, he's king of the sea. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, you get, hypothetically, the king of the sea to host Shark Week, right? Everyone at least knows him by face value of Aquaman. And then to hype not just the fan base, but for people who watch Shark Week and are like, oh wow, like, oh, another Aquaman movie. You drop the trailer at that time because now you get two particular sects of people who are now interested in Aquaman. You get the DC fan base, and now you get this random other fan base in Shark Week and marine biologists and marine life and all that stuff who are like, oh yeah, okay, another Aquaman movie. I'll go see that. They couldn't even do that. They couldn't even, scrounge up a trailer because of how much reshoots that movie's going through. What is it now? They're on their third, fourth reshoots. I mean, let's be honest here. let's take into consideration how many reshoots that film has been through secretly, privately, reshoots that maybe some of us don't even know about, because that happens sometimes. So, would have been a fantastic time to drop the trailer, but that clearly shows to me, and I think it should show to everyone, they are simply not confident in Aquaman moving forward. It is a movie just like every other that probably should have been canned the way Batgirl was. And I mean, I think you could probably say that about a lot of DC films that have come out that should have just been written off of tax breaks. But I think maybe the problem is that Aquaman is way too much money, the same way Flash was. So yeah, that didn't happen. But really interesting that you mentioned that, because then I started putting two and two together. I was like, oh, okay. So I mean, at this point in time right now, yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, Donovan said it would be great brand stuff. 100%. Yeah. Um so w- there's nothing this company can do. Warner Brothers in particular, DC's one thing. They've got hits and misses, but Warner Brothers for sure. There's nothing they can really do right now that will keep them in like the light of good reputation. There's not much they can do right now that'll make people be like, we trust this company wholeheartedly. Some of the half-assed decisions they're making right now is not helping. So, and this Wonder Woman situation it's just weird. It's strange. But Bleeding Edge Studios says, I'm worried since the Flash flop, they're not going to touch that character for a long time. I mean, who knows? Like, because the issue is that they are on a full out reboot right now. They are willing to just straight up be like, okay, moving forward from the DCEU into the DCU, they don't care. It almost feels as if they don't care to reboot some of these characters only a year later. Like, we used to live in a time where when a character was rebooted, we would wait 7, 8, 10, 12 years until that character was rebooted with new actors and new everything. DC right now is in a situation where they're willing they're willing to reboot characters a year after where we just last previously saw them, with people who were playing that character prior to their reboot, who they will now be playing that rebooted version. Come on. I mean, come on, man. You don't need to be a diehard DC fan. You don't need to be a general audience member. You don't need to be either one of these sides to just understand how straight up foolish this is and how weird this universe is being started. So, yeah, it's just not good. It's not good business, and it's not good creative decisions. If the point is to start anew with a DC universe and start from the beginning, you probably should, honestly, as much as I love a lot of the stuff that has come before the Snyderverse, which I don't catalog that in the DCEU. I catalog that as its own universe because it's so different from the DCEU. But as much as I love what they did there, with Snyder did there, even I'm willing to admit that if the point is to make a DCU, you got to scrap everything. Like, this is not worth it. It's nonsense. It's become way too confusing. It's literally causing infighting amongst your fan base, as if this fan base doesn't fight each other all the time as it is. You just have to straight up can whatever they're doing there. They have to destroy the DCEU and move forward with the DCU. Even honestly, if there are actors and actresses that are beloved and people love them as the character, if you're not going to keep one, you got to get rid of all of them. That's personally how I see it. So, I mean, to answer your question or to comment on your comment, Bleeding Edge, what is fascinating about that is because the Flash flopped, would they touch the Flash again? And I mean, first of all, they have to, because if the plan is to make a Justice League for the DCU, Flash has to be part of that. But will they give Flash another movie? That is the question. And I don't know if they'd be willing to do that at the moment. Brown Destroyer said, to be honest, Gunn didn't deny Gal playing Wonder Woman from the very beginning, so now it's basically no reboot. Just same without Cavill, Superman, Ben Affleck refused to play Batman. Yeah, so I got a couple things I want to say here. There's a couple of things I'm going to get into here. AMD, hello, glad you're here. Hello to everyone if you're in the stream. So before I get back to your guys' comments and your thoughts, I'm going to get my thoughts off my chest right now, which I wrote them down because I always make sure to write down my thoughts. I don't want to lose anything important that I wanted to say. So, okay. Number one. I'm going to keep it on the floor here so it's not in the way. Number one. This is a really, really strange situation because, you know what? I'm seeing a comment that's addressing it right here. It's, well, lost the comment. Here it is. I'll pin it for you. Gal Gadot said about Wonder Woman 3 in an interview is months ago. Why is this mainstream news now? It is a little odd because Gal Gadot wouldn't be able to do any promotion because of the actor strike for whatever movie she's trying to promote there. That is something else I was really wondering, because if that's the case, how is this information? Maybe they only got, the rights to drop that interview now. When exactly was that interview? Was this months ago? Or was this like days before the strike happened, which was about 2-3 weeks ago now, maybe almost a month ago? So when was that video posted, right? Who knows when that discussion happened? So, first of all, I want to say, if this is fake and it's not happening, because all the mainstream trades and Hollywood sites are posting it as official confirmation. Then again, we still haven't had official confirmation for James Gunn. So because of that, there's always reason to maybe be a little cautious. But if it's not true, it's not true. Scrap it, move on. But of course, we wouldn't be having a stream right now. We wouldn't be doing a stream. And Donovan, you said the interview last I saw was late June. Okay, so a solid amount of time ago, but still recent enough for it to be news, I guess. The reason we're even having a stream right now is to hypothetically talk about what this means, right? So hypothetically talking about what this means, if it is 110% true, because right now it feels like it's 80-90% true, but let's say it is confirmed, it's moving forward. First thing I want to say is, so you can keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but you can't keep Henry Cavill as Superman. Okay. She is 38. Henry is 39, turning 40, or he's already 40. Doesn't matter. They're only 2 years apart, and Henry still looks like he could play a 30-year-old. He looks like he could play a 40-year-old because he is 40. Gal, same situation. I mean, they got Robert Pattinson to play a Batman in his second year as Batman, who I believe in that universe, Bruce is probably in his late 20s at that time, and Robert Pattinson in real life, I believe, is like 36, 37. So if that's the case, how does any of that make sense? Why is it that she can retain the role of Wonder Woman, but Henry Cavill can't? And I keep hearing the excuse that the idea is for his Superman to be younger. But why? I mean, we've already seen the Superman idea with him being a young man trying to learn the world as a new superpowered being who doesn't even really understand the powers he owns at the moment, but he's got to find a way through it. And we've already seen the Clark Kent who has to go through being a journalist, hiding his powers to some of the most important people around him. We've seen this so many times. So I don't understand why we couldn't just keep Henry Cavill in the role. And I've been saying that for months. It really doesn't make sense to me. And I mean, that's something I wrote down because I didn't want to forget this. How many of you here watch Den of Nerds? How many of you here know who Josh is? He said a couple months ago, he tweeted that James Gunn does not like Henry Cavill. And after he said that, he got attacked. Well, first of all, he got attacked by James Gunn, who served up some super lame, pathetic mom's basement type of joke. The fact that that's coming from a CEO is laughable. And second of all, Josh then started getting roasted by a ton of people that, oh, James Gunn owned you, blah, blah, blah. If anything, all that has proven to me is Josh was right. Den of Nerds was right. James Gunn does not like Henry Cavill. He does not like Ben Affleck's Batman. You can say right now that, oh, he doesn't mind Ben Affleck. They're on good terms. They did discuss about working together on the DCU, but it just wasn't a right fit for Ben Affleck. Okay, but my argument is Gunn claimed he had discussions with Ben Affleck about returning to the DCU for directing position. And what was it, a couple weeks later, Ben Affleck ends up having an interview with Hollywood Reporter where he, in the nicest way possible, says, I would never direct something for James Gunn's DCU. So, I mean, if they were on okay terms, you would imagine that Ben Affleck would be like, no, it's just not a good fit for me right now. You never know what's going to happen in the future. No, this guy straight up says, never going to happen, never going to do it, don't want to be part of it. It's clear that, like, he probably doesn't really like Affleck or his Batman, and it doesn't seem like he likes Henry Cavill's Superman. Unless there is another really conveniently detailed situation on why he does not want to stick with Cavill's Superman. Until then, I'm going with what seems to be the most possible course of action, that he does not like Henry Cavill or his Superman. It seems as if Josh was right. He said it. He got absolutely clowned and made fun of for it after James Gunn did a really crappy, lame, pathetic mom's basement joke, and it turns out he is right. Now, details about this Wonder Woman 3, I guess we would call it. Giacomo, what's up? I see you there. How's it going, man? Thanks for being here. The situation that it I don't know. It's so weird. A scooper on Twitter, and we all know how we should all feel about scoopers. Sometimes we believe what they say, sometimes we don't. Always take it with a grain of salt, unless that grain of salt is literally said to be the literal truth. I think it was, I'm forgetting the name of the scooper exactly, but it's the scooper with the profile picture that has a piece of toast. I can't remember their name right now. I'm sure many of you are familiar. But they claim that what it was is Wonder Woman 3 was canned. Patty Jenkins' version was canned. So then Gal Gadot entered production with James Gunn and Peter Safran on a new Wonder Woman 3. That wouldn't actually be Wonder Woman 3. It would be a Wonder Woman 1. It would be the first movie in, yes, Donovan, there it is. Can we get some toast? That's the person. It would be it would be like a reboot of what we've already seen. It would be Wonder Woman's very first story in the DCU. But what it would be is it would be elements from her DCEU past, from what Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins created. Some of the elements would be taken from that, mixed with new elements of the DCU. Why? Why, bro? Like, are we trying to make this confusing for the fan base? One of James Gunn's first thing he says when he announces the slate is that, oh, DC has been very fractured. Nothing has been coming together correctly. So we're going to do a reboot, with the exception of John Cena's Peacemaker, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, Viola Davis's Amanda Waller, my Suicide Squad, my Peacemaker show, and Jason Momoa as Aquaman. He's now going to be Lobo. Zolo as Blue Beetle. And I think that's about it. Oh, no, actually, you know what? One of your main trinity, Gal Gadot, will remain as Wonder Woman. Okay. Good to know. So it's confusing. And people can do their mental gymnastics all they want to sit here and say, no, we're good. We're fine. Everything's okay. Meanwhile, they're sweating because everything is not okay. It's as simple as that. Imagine how confusing this is for a DC fan, right? Because there are things to me that are like, what? So if there's like things that are confusing to me in some ways and confusing to some of you in some ways, how is this not confusing for a general audience member? To the point where like they probably don't even care. They see how confusing and stupid this whole situation is, so they delete it from their mind. They're like, okay, whatever, move on. So, that's what Wonder Woman 3 is, apparently. It's not even Wonder Woman 3. It's a reboot that would essentially be Wonder Woman 1 with elements from the DCEU that will remain in the DCU. Okay. Next thing I wanted to mention was, let's be real here. We see Gal Gadot return for the DCU, okay? And, forget for a second, as many of you may know, let's just forget for a second that I am not against the future of DC. I don't even want to say I'm against the future of DC. Hey, what's up, DC Temple? Hello. How's it going? Glad you're here. Let's forget for a second that I am not so optimistic about their future, because personally I think the DCU is dead on arrival. My opinion, I know not everyone shares that. It is what it is. Let's forget that that's how I feel, and let's just assume the DCU is successful and it moves forward, okay? Imagine seeing Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman enter the big screen in a Justice League movie or some sort of crossover movie, and here she is standing side by side with Batman and Superman, who aren't Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. It's strange. It's weird. It's not gonna feel the same. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman has been specifically casted and written to fit a particular mold of DC storytelling. And ever since that, they've been trying to strip that Wonder Woman and put her in two molds and storytelling that don't match that version of the character. So now whatever this DCU ends up being, because it certainly will not look like Zack Snyder's world, it's going to look far different. Seeing her on the big screen with two different people from Cavill and Affleck, it's just going to be strange. Like, believe it or not, I'm in a situation where I don't actually really like this news. I'm not a fan of it. Like, recast Gal Gadot. I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I think she's damn good and she fits the role. But I don't like this. Like, if you're going to recast Henry Cavill's Superman, you have to recast Ben Affleck's Batman, which they are. And you have to recast Gal. Like, I don't see any other way around this. I don't know how it makes sense. I've also seen a lot of people say, you know, what if Gal isn't returning as Wonder Woman and she's returning as some sort of producer or storyteller with James Gunn and Safran? Come on. Really? Is that the amount of copium we're going to be on right now? And if that does actually happen, that's wild. Because in that interview, she specifically talks about how she loves the character and wants to continue playing that character. Why would Gal Gadot sign up for a Wonder Woman movie where she no longer gets to play the character? She only gets to oversee the way the movie is made and the way the character is portrayed. I can't see that being the thing. If this is an announcement, if this announcement is real, she's coming back as Wonder Woman. This isn't a delegation and this isn't a send-off to a new woman. I don't think Gal Gadot would want any part of that. So I'm marking that off. Second of all, another thing I want to mention about all this confusion to make it even more confusing is, who's the first DCU character? Who's the first person? Let me know in the comments below. Who's the first DCU character? It certainly is not Superman, even though he has the first DCU movie. It's not going to be Blue Beetle, because now apparently the wording has changed. Notice how James Gunn does this a lot. Warner Brothers and DC are bad for this. Notice how they can say one thing, but then a couple of weeks or a couple months later, the wording changes to the point where it feels like the same thing, but it's really not. You got to pay attention to the difference. Because at first, I see you guys saying Blue Beetle. Because at first what it was Blue Beetle is the first DCU character. But now, according to an interview with Zolo, he's the first character if the movie performs well, which we know the movie's not going to perform well. That's just the very grim reality of Blue Beetle and the future for that film. If it makes over $200 million, round of applause, 100%, because I don't see how that movie is going to make anything more than that. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. But that could mean, okay, if Blue Beetle doesn't sell well, what will happen is Blue Beetle will be in the DCU, just won't get his own films for the future. Or it could literally be like almost a threat, like, hey, if your movie doesn't do well, you're not the first DCU character, buddy. Thanks for doing business. Talk to you later. I don't know. It's weird. So if it's not Blue Beetle, who's the first DCU character? Let's just say, for example, Blue Beetle isn't. Because now you have a range of people who could be. It could be Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I doubt she's leaving because she's not taking the role of Sue Storm. So she's not going anywhere. That means her character's been around before Corrin Sweat's Superman. It could be Viola Davis, considering you're literally making a TV show about Viola Davis's Amanda Waller that's supposed to drop next year. So couldn't she be considered one of the first DCU characters? Okay, fine. It's not Viola Davis's Amanda Waller. Could you maybe argue, because we still don't know if Jason Momoa is Lobo or if he's staying as Aquaman. But let's just hypothetically say he was staying as Aquaman. Does that mean he's now the first DCU character? Because we still don't have any confirmation on it. How about John Cena's Peacemaker? Could he not technically be considered the first DCU character? Considering he's already had a season and he's getting a season 2? And Era, I see your comment there. Waller's not a person that should get a show, to be honest. And I agree. I think Viola Davis's Amanda Waller is absolutely brilliant. One of the best castings I've ever seen DC do. But that doesn't qualify Waller to get her own show. Okay. So then, if Peacemaker's not potentially the first DCU character, wouldn't that make Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman the first DCU character? You see what I mean? Like, they talk about it as if it's not confusing. Yeah, Superman's the first DCU movie. But Blue Beetle's the first DCU character. But Blue Beetle's movie is not canon to the DCU. It's a life he had in the DCEU, but Blue Beetle will carry over to the DCU, whose story from the DCEU is not utilized in the DCU. You're following along, right? Perfect. Diesel Demon 149, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. With a peeled banana. I love it. I love that picture. Now, another situation is, if you want to look at it maybe from a chronological in-universe timeline, and Gal Gadot does stay as Wonder Woman for the future of DC, wouldn't she be the first DCU character? Because chronologically in time, like in a DC universe, she's like immortal. So she's been born for 2,000 years already. So isn't she the first DCU character then? Shouldn't she outrank Blue Beetle? You know what I mean, guys? Like, I'm sorry. I personally don't understand this whole Superman's the first movie, but Blue Beetle's the first DCU character. I think it's stupid. I think it's a really terrible cop-out to keep people you want and get rid of people that you don't want, essentially. Now, what I gotta say about this entire situation, whether or not what's going on with Wonder Woman 3, if Gal Gadot coming out and announcing this, whether she's justified or not, whether I am justified in saying some of the things I'm currently saying right now, what I have to say is James Gunn needs to clarify. He needs to come out. I agree, Bleeding Edge Studios. I feel like James Gunn has a huge ego. Yes, I think so too. I think James Gunn's ego is blowing the roof off of DC and Warner Brothers, while all at the same time, I think a lot of them don't even know what the hell they want to do with this brand moving forward. They try to dress it up. Okay? They're trying to dress up DC and Warner Brothers in this clean-cut, white Nike tracksuit. But whoops, you didn't notice when you left the house, you had a little bit of spaghetti sauce on one of the sleeves of your sweaters. And as time goes on, you're starting to notice that spaghetti sauce has been getting on a lot more than just the sleeve of your sweaters. It's now on your chest, and somehow you found it on your back too. They are trying to make this company look so pristine. They're trying to make the future of the DCU look really bright and really exciting, but it's been met with way too much confusion, no communication, and very poor decision making. It has. James Gunn needs to clarify what's going on here. Here's what I think is really weird about this. James Gunn likes to talk a lot on Twitter. He likes to be very vocal with people. And I think sometimes he says really stupid things. He has done so in the past, and he's even done it, quite recently. He just says dumb things to people that honestly shouldn't even gain any of his time, but he still decides to respond to them in some rude fashion. Now, Gunn can also be a very interesting person who will deny claims, and he'll also deny rumors and stuff. It's more than that now. You would think the shepherd of your company would... he's a CEO. A CEO is supposed to keep you updated on so many things. And I feel like there is so much stuff about DC that, he just either A, has not done a good enough job vocalizing and communicating, or B, has not vocalized or communicated anything at all. So for a guy who is very vocal online to not have already commented on something like this is very strange to me. This is something that we need word of mouth. We need him to talk about this. This needs to be something he confirms or denies, okay? Then I've also seen people say, yeah, well, the reason why he's not doing that is because, like he said a couple months ago, he was going headfirst into the production of Superman, and he's gonna really crack down on how much he talks about all these DC rumors and leaks and stuff. Okay, but this is a pretty big situation. This is not something that you leave on the internet to fester and boil in, to not talk about it at all, and to let the fan base wonder about something that might not even happen. And AMD, thank you so much. $5. Love it. Appreciate it. What is that? Is that a pear? Keep it up. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Heart. Bam, bam, bam. All the emojis I can think of, chucking in there. Now, yeah, why are we getting a lack of communication on this situation? Because either one, you come out and you say, hey, yeah, Gal Gadot's right. Wonder Woman 3, get it on that 10-year slate. It's coming, everybody. So now everyone's like, oh my God, no way. Wonder Woman 3 equals 1 reboot. Or you come out and you nip it right off the bat and you say, no, no, this is not happening. There is no Wonder Woman 3. There is no reboot Wonder Woman 3 with Gal Gadot. You get in front of it. You get ahead of it. I don't understand why something that would be this important, why news that is this big, is being left to sit on for an entire day. I mean, I don't have anything open right now. Like, I don't have a Twitter, my Twitter page open right now. But throughout the course of this stream, let me know if he publicly says anything throughout the stream, because if he does, we need to know. Like, I just don't understand how you can have a lack of communication and not decide to comment on something like this. Like, it's one thing to have rumors within DC that say rumor or confirmed by unknown source. Peacemaker is gonna show up in James Gunn's Superman film starring David Corenswet. Okay? That's one rumor that James Gunn could see circulating and being like, yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not going to worry. Okay? This is a completely different situation. This is Wonder Woman 3 happening with Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot confirms Wonder Woman 3 with James Gunn and Peter Safran. This is more than a rumor. This is, like I've said earlier, nearly a damn confirmation, as it is being circulated around the interwebs, and it's also being circulated amongst Hollywood trades, which Hollywood trades sometimes get some of the best sources. So, he has to say something. He has to. I think that's about all I want to say. I don't know if there's really anything else I could other than, honestly, the more I see this play out, the more I don't like it. The more I don't like the decisions being made, the more I'm not excited for the future of the DCU. The more I actually get pessimistic by it because of how some of the things are playing out. You know, it's not a full reboot. It is, honestly, kind of what it feels like sometimes, is a child who has a bunch of toys and says, I like this one, this one, this one, and this one, so I'm going to play with those ones today. All the other ones, I don't want them anymore, and tosses them across the room. Oh, my goodness. I saw someone recently on Twitter. I don't remember who this was, but I saw someone recently on Twitter say, do you remember the days when there was always some DC news and it was always bad news? Remember those days when we would constantly go on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we would see a new DC headline that was just soul crushing? Thank goodness we don't have to go through that anymore in this era. What are you talking about? We're still going through it. If anything, we're still going through an era of DC news that makes their future even more bleak. Crazy. Insane. Z Productions, if there's a Wonder Woman 3 but not a Man of Steel 2, we riot. I mean, let's put it this way. So, if the conversation is what worked, okay? If the conversation is what worked, how are you telling me right now Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman worked more than Henry Cavill's Superman? If the conversation is we're keeping with Jake, insanity, I agree, brother. 100% it's insanity. It's nonsense. If the conversation is what worked, how are you telling me Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman worked more than Henry Cavill? Because the way I see it is Man of Steel did a lot more for this DC universe than Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman movies did. I mean, let's be honest here. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman movies could easily be an Elseworlds tale because of how little it has to do with the DC universe. The first Wonder Woman only has Bruce Wayne by mention and by company logo, Wayne Enterprises. And then Wonder Woman 2, 84, literally has nothing to do with the DC universe. Nothing with what they were trying to create. And I just look at it as, even in the sense of Henry Cavill's Superman in Batman vs. Superman. As many of you know, I absolutely love Batman vs. Superman. I'm sure there are a lot of you in here who either love it, and if you don't love it, you enjoy it, but maybe there are some of you who straight up don't like it, and that's okay. But the one thing that is genuinely and generally known is, even if people did not like how Superman was portrayed in that movie, what we do know is 90% of people love Henry Cavill as Superman. And if they didn't like his version of Superman that Zack was trying to tell, they wanted to see Henry Cavill as, the Superman who is all hopeful and free of controversy, if you will. Okay? Henry Cavill is this generation's Superman. And how do I clarify a generation? It's hard to tell, but I feel like if you were maybe born in the 90s up until about 2015, 2016, maybe up until 2018, that might be your Superman, My mother grew up with Superman from the 70s and 80s with Christopher. And even she would probably have a hard time choosing who she likes better, Henry or Chris. I honestly believe she might even take Henry at the end of the day. Henry Cavill left a lasting impression, okay? So if that's the case, how is it that Henry Cavill doesn't work, but Gal Gadot's does? Because I'll tell you right now, as much as I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I think it would be far easier replacing her as Wonder Woman than it would be replacing Henry Cavill as Superman. If you're getting rid of Henry Cavill, you have to get rid of everybody. So, and I've seen some people say, okay, what if Wonder Woman 3, let's say the toast dude on Twitter, let's say that Scoop is wrong and it's not a Wonder Woman reboot with elements from Wonder Woman 1 and 2. If this is a reboot, if this isn't a reboot, this is Wonder Woman 3, I've actually seen a lot of people say that, it's an Elseworlds story. They're taking Wonder Woman from the DCEU and the Zack Snyderverse, and they're bringing it over to Elseworlds. Now she's going to have 3 movies, right? Wonder Woman 1, Wonder Woman 84, and Wonder Woman 3 that will now be categorized as Elseworlds. I've actually seen people theorize this and think confidently that Wonder Woman 3 is an Elseworlds story. Hypothetically, if it's an Elseworlds story, this is what I'll say. If it's an Elseworlds story, why can't we get Man of Steel 2? If it's an Elseworlds story, why can't you get Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3? If it's an Elseworlds story, why can't other Elseworlds exist then? You're allowing Matt Reeves' Batman to exist. So make it make sense. This is what I'm talking about. The lack of communication is not helping this future move forward gracefully in any way. Not in any way. So, oh my goodness. It's just, I think we're in a situation that, well, actually, before I say what I was going to say, another thing that a lot of people are saying is that what if I almost called Gal Gadot Wonder Woman as if she's literally Wonder Woman. What if Gal Gadot said this to spark some sort of flame? Like, oh, yo, get that world churning again. Let's get it going. Stoke the fires. What if she said it to maybe attack Gunn and Safran to move them into action? Like, okay, maybe we do head into development with this, or okay, we gotta nip this now. We gotta say, it's not happening. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't motivated them to that hasn't motivated them to move forward with any communication. It's just been complete silence. They're not saying anything, and it's making things so much worse, guys. It's one thing to like sit here and theorize, right? It's one thing to sit here and theorize about the future of like, yo, what's going on? This could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But we're sitting in a situation of, yo, what's going on? No, it's, yo, what's going on? That's what it is. Notice the differences. Yo, what's going on? Yo, what's going on? It's different. One's good, one's bad. And it's definitely bad. I personally think James Gunn is not the right guy to be CEO. He's not. I know he's sharing it with Peter Safran, which in ways I think Peter Safran might even be far worse than Gunn. But I think James Gunn, fine, can maybe make some creative decisions, but like as far as CEO goes, it is just not good. It's bad. And until he proves me wrong, which maybe he will prove me wrong, and I've got no problem admitting to being wrong, but I don't like it. There's way too many things that I see that I don't like compared to things that I like. Like, so far, decisions he has made for the future of DC, I don't think I can tell you one thing I like. I'm even trying to think about it right now, and I don't know if there's one thing I really like. Oh, okay. The one thing I like is that we're getting a Green Lantern TV show. But that was going to happen before he even became CEO. So, okay, that kind of backfired. Never mind then. I don't know what to tell you. It is just bad. It's bad. It's not good. It's not a good look on the company. It's not a good look on him. It's not a good look on what's going on in the future. So, it's been 53 minutes. It feels like I've only been talking for 10 minutes, but I guess I got a big mouth. So, now that I've talked, now that I've said what I've had to say about this really weird situation, I'm going to get into the comments. I'm going to go back here, see what you guys are saying. Keep the comments coming. All right. Let's see. Brown Destroyer, if Wonder Woman 3 is a reboot, is it coming after Phase 1, Gods and Monsters? That's 10 years from now with the list that Gunn showed us. What's going on? Yeah, indeed. Isn't that the question of the year? Isn't that the question of his time being CEO so far? What is going on? I don't know. And I don't have an answer for you. If that's the case, she'll be 48 by then, give or take. Is she still okay to play Wonder Woman, but Henry Cavill can't? All right. Josiah the Brain says, I don't think they're keeping Gal. Maybe they're not. Maybe this is all coming out as a he says, she says, in the situation that she, literally Gal Gadot, has said it's happening with no official corporate executive confirmation. I am with you. There's 20% of me that is on your side here, that is saying it's not happening and Gal's not staying. But the trades and the confirmation has come out that it is. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. DC Temple, Chapter 1 is called Gods and Monsters, so no way Wonder Woman doesn't have her own project. Gunn said we would have Wonder Woman animated series. Sad that Susan Eisenberg probably won't voice her. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome if she did. But yeah, here's the thing about that. I agree with you. If it's called Gods and Monsters, she's a god, so she's got to be there. The project is Paradise Lost, which from how I understand it takes place before her birth. I don't know how many years, thousands, hundreds, tens of years, 2 years, I don't know. It takes place before her birth. That's a Wonder Woman-esque project. There is a Wonder Woman animated project, but does that Wonder Woman animated project have anything to do with the DCU? And I'm going to be completely honest with you. If it does, why would your first outing on Wonder Woman be animated? I think that's a terrible idea. I'm sorry, I do. I think your first animated your first project for Wonder Woman has to be live action. If the point is a DC and universe that's, cinematic, a piece of the Trinity should not be introduced through animation. They have to be introduced through live action. And my thing is here is because I'm especially looking at it through the lens of general audiences who don't know these worlds the way we do. As a general audience member, I don't want to see Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman and then have to watch their next project as animation. If I see them in, live action, they are forever live action. I don't want to see them animation now. I wouldn't want to see Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman vs. Superman, but then have them tell me that, Ben will be back as Batman, but it's only going to be animation for the next year, 2, 3 years. I think that's a bad idea if that's the idea they're going for. Wonder Woman needs to be live action. I don't think animation is a good idea if that is her future in the DCU. Brown Destroyer, James Gunn is clueless about what he's doing. Yes, I have to agree. I don't think he's a good businessman for this. Creative, maybe. He did okay. He I should say more than okay. He did good with Guardians of the Galaxy. Suicide Squad is okay. Peacemaker's pretty good. But other than that, business-wise, it's not... No. Nope. If I had like a red button here, I would have pressed it long time ago. Yeah. Back to the Blue Beetle thing. Gunn said it's Blue Beetle as the first DCU character, but they're changing their tune. They're changing their tune all the time, Warner Brothers and DC. One day it's this, one day it's that. Do you really think a company who got rid of Henry Cavill after they told him to announce his return as Superman, do you think a company that's willing to get rid of Cavill would fear about getting rid of Blue Beetle? No, they wouldn't care. They'll take that risk if they have to. They certainly took it with Superman, which is going to cause damage. It's already caused damage, but it's going to cause apparent damage for the future. They would do that with Blue Beetle. Let's see. Yeah, Donovan Martin too. He said, I knew they'd start walking that back. Yeah, honestly. Josiah the Brain says the Blue Beetle movie needs to do just as well as the first Shazam. Well, let's see how well the first Shazam did. I can ballpark what it did, probably the Shazam. What am I doing? I can ballpark what it did, probably 300 million box office, because the second one did 130 box office. Okay, I mean, that still isn't pretty. 367 million worldwide is what Shazam did. So the idea that Blue Beetle needs to make 300 million worldwide. I said this in a recent video. Can't remember what video it is now. But I said this in a recent video where we're living in a time, this is more so for DC. Superhero movies created a trend where if it doesn't make over 6 or 700 million worldwide, yes, maybe their budget was small enough that they made a profit and their marketing bill wasn't as extensive. So maybe they made profit and broke even. But even then, if your superhero movie doesn't make over 6 or 700 million worldwide, up into the 800-900s and a billion, your movie's a failure. We're living in a time with DC where, 300 million is a success for a DC movie. Which it's not. It's not a success. It's a success for Blue Beetle to hit that number in the sense of, wow, you guys made it that far. But it's not a success in like, oh, you guys made a lot of money. It's not. Maybe for them it's a success in breaking even, but that's as far as the successes go. I don't think, though, Blue Beetle will make that much. I think Blue Beetle will be lucky to make 200 million. 250 tops. Let's see. AMD, the Cobra Kai kid is in the movie. Perhaps that's the saving grace. Maybe that will convince people to go see the movie, since this is like his first really huge budget production. And, the whole idea of Blue Beetle giving Latino representation, right? Stuff like that. Maybe that is going to help the movie progress in some way when it comes to money. I still just don't think it's enough. The lack of marketing for Blue Beetle, and I just think the terrible reputation Warner Brothers DC has, and the fact that Warner Brothers and DC keeps releasing terrible movies, I really don't know if it's gonna help. Let's see. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Click that like button if you haven't. It helps this stream get seen by many other people. I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, Donovan. Yes. Might be the comment of the hour. Comment of the stream, maybe. Gunn should have distanced himself from every single one of these projects this year. Gunn coming on as CEO of DC, co-CEO, honestly, I don't care how close I am to Peter Safran. If I was Gunn, I don't care how close I am to Safran. I'd literally be like, hey, you're taking the fall for those movies. You've been here for some of this stuff as producing credits too. You're taking the fall for this. I know I'm co-CEO. I want nothing to do with it. I am not talking about The Flash. I am not talking about Blue Beetle. I'm not talking about Shazam. I'm not talking about Aquaman. I'm not talking about it. Nothing. I'm not tweeting, saw the movie, greatest movie I've ever seen, so awesome, go see it today. I'm not talking about those movies. If I became CEO of DC, the last thing I would do is put my name on one of those films. Last thing I would do is promote those movies. Especially, too, if Gunn is creative side of CEO, Peter Safran should be handling that, not Gunn. He should have stayed as far away from those movies as he could have. So I agree with that 100%. Era says, Flash should have just reset the verse. Then we wait like 5 years and get the DCEU off of our memory, then start with Superman. That is what I've been saying for months. We should be rebooting 5 years from now, 6 years from now. We should be waiting. We honestly should. And I've heard people say, like, well, if you wait, you're leaving free money on the table for Marvel Studios and Disney to take it from Warner Brothers and DC. To which this is my response. You still have the Batman and you still have Joker. That will get you money, guaranteed. And number two, they've been taking money from DC for years. Their only competition with DC was the Man of Steel era, the Batman vs. Superman era, the Wonder Woman and Aquaman era. That's the only time they had competition from DC. They were taking money from DC before then. They were taking money from DC in between those times. They were taking money from DC after. So what would it matter? Leave that money on the table right now. Go ahead, take it. Go. Feel free, Marvel. That's what I would say. You've already been doing it for so long. Do it some more. We'll try again in 5 years, and this time we'll make sure it's good. We'll make sure communication's there, and we'll make sure our ideas are there before we start changing our minds as the months go on. So, yes, I agree. 5 years, 100%. I know that might be hard for some people to hear, but I think it's what would be needed. Brown Destroyer. By the way, how does the DCU start? Because Flash didn't reboot anything in his movie other than the changing of Batman. Yeah, it doesn't. And he said that in his slate release, that Flash reboots the DCEU. Okay, so it reboots the DCEU into the DCU? Or just reboots the DCU and you now leave that universe alone, and now you're going to a different dimension of DC storytelling, which will now be called the DCU. Like, it doesn't make sense. They haven't clarified anything. Already got that one. Bleeding Edge said James Gunn has a huge ego, and I 100% agree. DC Temple said, maybe just me, but every DCU should start from showing what happened on Earth from the very beginning to its characters. First off, showing first metahuman like Vandal Savage, or showing Greek gods, etc. If that's how they started it, that would be neat. Because then that Vandal Savage would be the first DCU character at that point. Okay, now I do have to comment on this. Barbie carried Warner Brothers, so now they have money for the new DCU. LOL. Okay, what I will say is Barbie is killing it for Warner Brothers. That's good. But one good movie, even if it breaks $1 billion, one good movie doesn't make up for the fat amount of flops they've had over the course of like 2 to 3 years, and for the amount of flops they're going to continue to receive with Blue Beetle and Aquaman. They might not even be able to rely on Dune if they choose to push Dune into 2024, which sounds like a very real possibility. Just because one movie has made a lot of money does not mean that their company is in very good standings. I mean, a company that's $50 billion in debt and their stock price goes down every single day, they need more than one movie that is earning them money. They need a lot more going their direction, which they simply just don't have right now. Let's see. James Gunn said, we'll keep what works. I didn't think he'd take that literally by keeping Gal. And once again, my question is that what works? Like, does she really work more than Henry Cavill? I don't understand that. I don't see how she honestly works more than Henry Cavill's Superman did. That doesn't make sense to me. Brown Destroyer. He has 3 hit movies and his ego is gigantic. Anyone look up Gunn directed movies. They were all bombed in the box office except MCU. He was making C grade movies, porn parodies, etc. Yeah, and for some reason people ignore that. Like his movies are not the best outside of Marvel films. And that's what I keep saying is like, just because you can do Guardians of the Galaxy well and Suicide Squad well doesn't mean you can do Superman well. That just shows you have a particular niche. That just shows that you can only handle certain characters. I mean, I wouldn't get Christopher Nolan after the Dark Knight trilogy to start handling Doom Patrol. I wouldn't do that. You know, a lot of his movies just really aren't that good. Writing credit, directing credit, or producing credit, they're just not that great outside of Marvel. But people don't want to pay attention to that. They think because if you make a good superhero movie, you'll make more good superhero movies. And that is simply not the case. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Yes, and to continue off that while I read these other comments, his track record is not good within film. It's not the best. Thank you for bringing up that point, Brown Destroyer. DC Temple. Can we be sure the Batman Part 2 and Joker 2 will be successful? No, we can't. We can only assume that it will keep that same success from the first movies. You know, the first Batman made $770 million. If it wasn't COVID, maybe they would have made $1 billion. Who knows? But that's all what if. We have our statistical fact that it made 770 million, sorry. And then Joker cracked over $1 billion. Will both those movies, will their sequels make, you know, what their first made? It's as simple as this. If I made a movie that made $1 billion, okay? Say I made 1,100,000,000, all right? And I made a second movie that only made $1 billion. I made 100 million less. That's still a success, okay? If you make a movie that's like 900 or 800 million, right? Your first film, and your second film only makes 600 million from your first film's 900 million. That's not like, it's not terrible, but it's not a success. Okay? It's not. So the Batman 2 has to make over 770. If it makes 700 million, it doesn't even make that 70 million over its first one. It's not a success. That's a failure at that point. It is. So, I mean, will they be successful? It depends on what we categorize as successes. But it has to do more than what their counterparts did, than what their first ones did. And who knows if people have the interest, or, you know, if it has the legs throughout its box office run. We'll have to see. Let's see. What else we got here? Bleeding Edge Studio says, I feel like Warner Brothers should have more faith in the Barbie franchise than DC. Well, clearly they can do Barbie better than they could DC within the past couple of years. And I heard, actually, that Mattel wants to make their own toy universe. Because apparently, like, we're supposed to be getting a ton of actual movies from all these toy brands. I mean, I think the last thing we need is more sequels and connected universes, because I think they're starting to drop off in media. I'm not saying they'll never come back, because they probably will. History repeats itself. But I just think right now, you know, We don't need just pushed sequels all the time. We don't need connected universe as much as like okay, that's another thing I want to mention. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everyone's trying to replicate that. I don't think people realize that the MCU is a diamond in the rough. The MCU is like a 1 in a billion chance. It happened. It worked. Everything happened at the right time. They had all the right minds behind it. They had all the right people leading it. They had all the right actors. They had all the right ideas. They had all the right amount of money. They had all the right everything. It just worked, right? And people are trying to replicate it, and that's the problem. They're replicating it. They're trying to do what Marvel did, no matter how different they want their storytelling to be. The model is being used the same way. And that's why I just don't think connected universes work the way people want them to. You can make a connected universe, but you need it you need it all to mold the way Marvel did. And these companies have not figured out how to do it that way yet. Yeah, DC Temple says, kind of sad that Gunn canceled animated Kingdom Come movie, though. I would have loved that film. That would have been really cool. I mean, I still have a little bit of an idea that Gunn will be making a Kingdom Come movie in the future. But, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, because there are things Gunn does that throw me for a loop, so I wouldn't doubt it if I was completely wrong. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Bleeding Edge Studio says, I feel like James Gunn likes to talk a lot. He says he has this big 10-year plan, and yet most likely it will just be a couple of films. Well, I don't think a lot of people are taking in the possibility that we won't even make it through that 10 years. Like, we'll be lucky if we'll make it 3 or 4 years in, if it actually ends up working in the first place. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'll just put it that way without, going down a loophole. I agree with you. Brown Destroyer, DCU should have started with a Batman trilogy like Iron Man in the MCU, and then bringing in Superman's movie and other Justice League characters' solo movies. Robert Pattinson's Batman should have started the DCU. Look, I know that it's just, oh my goodness. I'm just trying to piece it all together and how it would have worked. I know that Pattinson's Batman is very realistic and it's very grounded, but it would have been a great place to start for a future DC universe. And especially, too, if your idea is to get rid of Elseworlds projects, that would have been a great way to get the Batman in to the DCU. But instead, they're letting the Elseworlds exist with that and then getting a new Batman at the same time. I've talked about so many times on this channel how bad of an idea that is, and they're still going through with it. So, you do you. Whatever. You think it's going to work? Do it. We'll see. The GOAT says it's all about the story. Who is who doesn't matter. Completely disagree with that. Who is who does absolutely matter, and it is just as important as the story. If you cannot get an actor or an actress that people cannot connect with, I could give two shits about your story. I need someone who's going to fill out that role and prove to me they can do a good enough job. It does matter who is who. PJ Machine says, I don't think anyone is against Henry as Superman. They just don't like the writing for that character, which is really, really unfortunate because I think the deconstruction of Superman is what made Superman so interesting and is what made me into the character, because deconstructing Superman would allow you to build up Superman to what he's supposed to be. So that sucks if people don't want to write for it. Although Christopher McQuarrie did claim a couple weeks ago that him and Cavill were working on a Man of Steel 2 that was going to be heavily connected to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. So there is someone out there who did like writing for him. DC Temple, I remember War Machine got recasted in the MCU. It wasn't as controversial as what happens with DC now. No, it's not. And I think the reason for that is because it's War Machine. Like, realistically, War Machine is what, a C-level character in Marvel? He's not the most important. I mean, why would you take War Machine over Iron Man? And don't get me wrong, Terrence Howard, I really liked him as War Machine. I met Terrence Howard in real life when I was really young. Super nice guy. I would have preferred him to stay as War Machine over Don Cheadle. Not a big fan of Don Cheadle's War Machine. But I think the difference is because Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, they're playing the Trinity, you know? They're playing two of the biggest comic characters that will ever exist. So there's a little bit of a difference there. I just hope it will be great. I don't want DC messed up again. I understand DC Temple. Because I'm with you. I don't know how many more times we can go through DC just getting absolutely shit on. I don't want to go through this again. It's just unfortunate that we have to. And I don't want to say that we have to, but it's unfortunate that we have had to and that we might have to continue doing it in the future. Jake, spitting facts as per usual, 100. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. But hey, if anyone has differences of opinions, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. We all think about this differently. Bleeding Edge Studios, what is it with the studio having a hate boner for Henry Cavill? Yeah, what is it? Honestly, because it's not just Cavill too, it's also Snyder. That company has hated those two guys for some strange reason, and all you have ever gotten from those two people is just passionate storytelling. Is just a specific story that was, that one man wanted to tell, and a great actor portraying Superman the way he was supposed to, that was eventually going to lead into Superman being something we all know him to be. So, yeah, it's awful. That is just one of the very, very many reasons why Warner Brothers is terrible. And of course the chat goes all the way to the bottom. Now I've lost all the comments. Hold on. Where did we leave off here? Because there's a lot going on. Where in that, bro, where YouTube, man, you screwed me over. Now I don't know where we were. There's a lot more comments than I thought too. Okay, here we are. How do you say your name, brother? Is it Exorial? I'm going to go with it. Sorry if I butchered it. So now there's DCEU leftovers, Elseworlds, and the DCU. Yeah, pretty much. I thought we were supposed to get unconfused and, on a specific track, but I guess not. Mike Pasalic, tell us how you really feel, Ty. Oh, I will. I will, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Let's see. Got some dialogue between Brown Destroyer and DC Temple in here. You guys, you do you. Let's see. Yes, Donovan Martin, you are right. We shouldn't neglect that animation too is changing with innovative styles, especially with Spider-Verse. And now, yeah, I 100% get that. You just have to be smart with animation, and you have to be smart with it when you connect it to a connected universe. I think the problem is that if you use specific characters that no one cares about in animation, nobody's gonna watch it. And if you use too much of an important character in animation, then it's going to be hard to justify using them as live action and animation over time constantly. It's a hard thing. Some kid said, it's very interesting how he said games and live action will be connected, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's another situation. You have to be really, really careful. Like, I do think Gunn is getting a little ahead of himself. Animation is one thing. I think he's getting a little ahead of himself when he says that he wants video games to be part of it too. Because now it's hard to make a AAA game when you also have to stay within the constraints of a connected universe. The whole point of video gaming is to have creative minds tell creative stories that don't fit in a film universe. The fact that Star Wars can do it is really hard, and once again, it's a 1 in a billion, because that was something that was created back in the 70s. They created a whole world they could find ways to play around with. The DCU hasn't even been started yet, so finding a way to get video games involved might be difficult. It might be hard. Let's see. Yeah, Z Productions. Zack Snyder said he looks forward to watching Blue Beetle with his kids. Yeah, I saw that post and I cannot believe it. I mean, good on him for, supporting a movie that's coming from a company that has only, butchered his visions. I gotta say, it's actually very funny how his one post for Blue Beetle has pretty much outperformed any post Gunn has posted for Blue Beetle. It's also really interesting how Snyder's one post for Blue Beetle is encroaching on the same amount of likes and views that Gunn has made for his Superman casting, which is absolutely wild. And the fact that Zack Snyder had a promotional image for Blue Beetle before anyone else that was clearly given to him by Warner Brothers. I find that very odd. I don't know what to make of that. Michael Paslick says, I have premium cable TV and I've never seen any advertising for Blue Beetle. They haven't been pumping any of these DC movies like they should, and that's a problem. Yeah, and I think the biggest problem about that too is they just don't have the money to do so. They can't afford to even pay back their marketing bill for some of these movies. So that's probably why you see nothing. Yeah, guys, what an interesting situation we find ourselves with DC. DC Temple. Do you have a release date for your Green Lantern hot take video and your DC Mass Effect crossover? Yes, I know DC Mass Effect is probably long for a wait. Unfortunately, it is. I'm nowhere near completed what I want it to look like and be like. But for the Green Lantern hot takes video, what's today, the 2nd? I hope for it to be out tomorrow, which is Thursday. I hope for the Green Lantern one to be out tomorrow night. I'm currently working on it and editing it right now. It's a good one. It's a good one. You'll like it. Andy Machete, or whatever his name is, should not direct Batman Brave and the Bold. No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. I think that's already a terrible... one of the many bad moves for the DCU moving forward. What's tweeting? I thought it changed. Yeah, what are we calling it now? Because it's not Twitter anymore, it's X, so... let's see. Randy O'Donnell says no one wants a Superman film. They need to start with Batman. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why that couldn't work, and maybe they should have simply just started with DCU Batman, if that, or Matt Reeves Batman, if that's the case. That probably could have worked there. And then you just build around it. Yeah, DC Temple. Barbie carried Warner Brothers this year, 100%. If there's anything to say about Warner Brothers this year, the year of 2023 will be remembered for Warner Brothers. Their year will be remembered as Barbie carried us. Donovan says he's got to go. Brother, good to have you here. Glad you were here. Hope you enjoyed the stream. See you next time. Absolutely, man. You're probably gone by now, but it's all to say it. How is Warner Brothers staying afloat when they are literally $50 billion in debt? You know, just out of curiosity, let's see what Warner Brothers stock is. Let's see if it's changed in the past week or so. No, it has not. It has literally stayed within the same spot. The last time I checked, it was at $12.69. When I made my strike and stock video about DC and Warner Brothers about a week ago, it was at $12.69 or something, or $12.59. Right now they're at $12.64. So they're just staying within that, 10-cent range. So not good. Not good for this company. There's no, 50 billion in debt, man. Like, what the hell is that? How do you let yourself get to that point? How are you still a company at that point? The Claymores, I'm late. My take is keeping galas very weird. Personally, I wanted a new Wonder Woman, especially after the soups change. Yes, if you recast Superman, you have to subsequently recast everybody, which I find this very strange. It's very odd. I don't get it. Will Superman Legacy actually go into production? That is quite the question. That is very interesting. Would I be shamed for saying no? Like, especially if these strikes don't get any better. Yeah, sure, maybe one of the strikes will clear up in time, but what happens if these strikes just continue to get worse? I mean, production will continue to get delayed, and I've said this before. Let's not pretend like this hasn't happened before. This happened to George Miller's Justice League Mortal in 2008. That movie was like practically ready to go, and it was ready to, go full force into filming. That's literally the only thing they needed to do, and the strikes ruined it, amongst other things, but the strikes primarily. Who's to say that won't happen here? Like, it's hilarious how one DC universe was supposed to start with the with George Miller's Justice League, and it got canned by strikes. Another DC universe is supposed to start that could potentially get canned by strikes. It's weird how that works. History repeats itself very so clearly. I just looked it up. Comcast, the owner of Universal, are 90 billion in debt. Yeah, and I know I've said recently that Universal would be the one to buy Warner Brothers and DC. I've changed my tone on that, because unless they start getting their debt miraculously cleared up, I'm starting to think that one of these days you're going to see Apple and or Amazon buy Disney and Marvel, or Warner Brothers and DC. I think Apple or Amazon, one or the other, they're going to purchase one of these companies. So it might not be Universal as I once thought it would be. It might be Amazon, say, for example, now. Brown Destroyer. Warner Brothers complicated their situation. Nobody can help them. No, they can't even help themselves. And if you can't help yourself, how can you expect other people to do it for you? As much as I love Gunn's Suicide Squad, I don't know if he can make a mythical superhero film like Kingdom Come. Hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see him carrying superhero mythology films and all. No, and I completely agree with you. I think you're right. You would need somebody who can handle something that gracious, something that big. It can't be Gunn to do it. In Doob. James Gunn backtracked on Wonder Woman after the flash bomb, and one can only hold so many L's. And we've talked about, me and you, we've talked about many times how Gunn just keeps making terrible decisions and how the future is not bright for him already. There is only so many L's you can take, and the question is how many more can he withstand? It's clearly catching up. Octavia says, I wish I can go to a different universe where the DCU did well and MCU didn't. Yeah, what a world that would look like, for sure. And YouTube, once again, just absolutely chucks me all the way down to the bottom. Hannah, yeah, it does matter who plays who, because for instance, you got Heath Ledger who did Joker, Chef's Kiss. Then years later, you have Jared Leto, LMAO. Yeah, precisely. I mean, I don't hate Jared Leto's Joker. I by no means love it. I think the way Zack Snyder handled Joker in the Justice League cut, in his Justice League cut, was better than what we saw from him prior, but even then, that's not the version of Joker I would personally be interested in seeing for a 2-3 hour movie. Yeah, he just wasn't written right, and I think Jared Leto tried way too hard. Like, you gotta try hard. You gotta try with these characters. If you're gonna be if I was casted as one of these characters, I can bet your ass, guys, I would show you why I went to film school, why I went to acting school. I would pop off. I would do what I gotta do. But it just felt like Jared Leto, he tried too hard. He really did. And it came off too much, too silly, too ridiculous. So yes, it does matter who plays who. Orlando says, being a DC fan feels like being in an abusive relationship at this point. Yeah, every time you think something good happens, just a slap in the face. Like, what do you think's going on here, huh? Nothing's ever gonna get better for you in this situation. Like, that's how it feels. It just feels like every single time there's a little bit of breathing room, like, oh, we might be able to take a deep breath. No. Nope. Hannah says, oh, and I lost the chat. Oh, here we go. Hannah says, I will never cleanse my brain of Jared Leto's Joker laugh. Oh, you mean this one? Yeah, I mean, I could have created that on the spot. Why am I not the Joker? I mean, if you're gonna do a Joker laugh, let's put some spice to it. Um, Cinema Hero. Don't know if you've already talked about this, but Gal Gadot is just a bad actress. There are a lot of people who don't like Gal Gadot as an actress. I mean, I personally don't mind her, but I agree. Like, I would never say she's one of the best actresses I've ever seen. Like, it's weird. I can't disagree with you, and I can't agree with you. I'm very neutral on it. But that's what I was saying earlier. You can easily find somebody to take over. You can easily find somebody to take over Wonder Woman's role from Gal. But Henry Cavill's a different situation. Like, yeah, I don't want to have to keep repeating myself there. But Cinema Hero, thank you for joining the stream. Not sure if you're still here, but it was great. Thanks for the comment. And also a little sneak peek for everybody. I am doing a video collaboration with Cinema Hero and a couple of other creators. I am going to actually make a small video about it, explaining more in the next couple of days, but there's a little sneak peek for it already. The Claymores. Effing beautiful point, brother. Right here. I mean, yes. Good, polished AAA games take 4+ years to develop. So difficult to merge that with a movie universe. Exactly. When things are always go, go, go. That's what this is. A cinematic universe doesn't wait, stop, and see. This is about making it continuous. You don't want to bore the audience. That's what the MCU did. They didn't bore the audience. They kept it going. You have to have a AAA game already planned out now and in production. So, yeah, that's not easy. Unless Gunn's thinking mobile games, which if that's the case, go for it. Indube and Claymores. What did... Yeah, they do it. It's not tweeting, it's Xing now. Oh, okay. We Xing out here, eh? They said it's Zeet now, which I'll never say out loud, which I just said out loud. So I'm Zeeting. Ugh, I don't like that. Believe it or not, I actually like the X rebranding because I don't have an emotional connection to Twitter. I don't really care. I actually like the X. But the whole point is that it's Twitter, tweeting. So, yeah, I don't know. Weird. Zeet sounds like Zit. It sounds so bad. Yeah, I know. I agree. Bleeding Edge Studios, I want a Knights of the Old Republic movie. Buddy, I don't know why Lucasfilm hasn't already done that. They're stupid. Speeding Bear, dang, I missed the first 2 hours. All good, man. You're here. That's all that matters. Sean Franklin, have you read the Flashpoint graphic novels? Yes, I have, and I really enjoyed them. I really liked it. Yeah, Randy O'Donnell, precisely. If Warner Brothers gets a bid from Apple or whoever, the DC projects will be put on hold till the sale is done. The new owner will decide. Yeah, and that's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think a company will buy Warner Brothers in DC, and whoever is in charge of that company will choose if they want to keep Gunn's vision or if they want to move forward with something else. I do think that is the most plausible case right now. Excuse me. Controller Kimbo. Hey, T.M.M. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Glad you're here. Speeding Bear. I want to see a third Wonder Woman movie, but I don't want it to be in the DCU. Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. Yeah. I just don't get it, guys. I do not understand. If we are talking about Joker, I think it is rich we haven't seen a clown prince of crime Joker since Hamill and Cesar Romero. Everything since is I am chaos, we live in a society Joker. Yeah, I know. I know. It's weird the route we went with Joker. I mean, once again, I'm all for creative vision and creative expression. I mean, I would never want somebody to lock me down creatively the way Warner Brothers has locked down people creatively. So if that's your vision for the Joker, by all means, all power to you. It doesn't mean I'm going to like it, you know, and it doesn't mean other people are going to like it. It comes down to that. TMM, if you do a DC and Mass Effect crossover, don't forget to add Lantern Corps in there. Imagine Sinestro meeting Saren. Oh, don't you even worry, my friend. I have the lanterns all over that idea. I have a really cool scene I would begin it with. I'll a little sneak peek for you with my own project there. What my Mass Effect DC crossover would look like, it would begin with Superman in Metropolis fighting Reapers. I'll leave it at that. Do with that information what you will. PJ Machine Returns. When are we getting the Legion of Doom? Even Marvel hasn't given us teams of established villains from previous movies. DC could beat them to it. Oh, there you go. There you go. They could easily do something. Like, Legion of Doom is... It's the same way, like, Marvel has the Justice... Like, Marvel has the Justice League. DC has the Justice League to Marvel's Avengers. Justice League is far more popular. I mean, of course, the Avengers is popular now because of the movies, but Justice League will always go down as the original team. Legion of Doom is like far more popular than any of Marvel's, villain squads. If they did that, that's a win for them. I don't know why they're waiting so long to do some of this stuff, man. They're just, oh my God. I cannot stand Warner Brothers. I can't tell you, I don't know why I have to go down this route so many times. I can't stand this company. They don't deserve this IP anymore. They really don't. DC Temple, Billy Zane as Lex. Whoa, I actually like that. Anthony Starr or Aidan Gillen as Reverse Flash. I think you'd have to go with Anthony Starr to like fuel that fan cast. Willem Dafoe as Joker. Oh boy, just imagine that Legion of Doom. Peak. Yes, I agree. Willem Dafoe is someone who should have been the Joker years ago, and it just never happened. Now, I don't know if they would do that, because I don't know if they would want an extremely older Joker to a younger Batman. So I'm not sure if they would go that way. Orlando, it's funny how the same people that say Snyder ruined Superman are okay with Marvel ruining or turning Thor into a parody of himself. Fantastic comparison. I agree. For some reason, and I'm not calling what they did to Thor progression of character arcs and stories, but for some reason, characters are allowed to evolve and progress except for Superman. For some reason, you're not allowed to do new things with Superman. You're not allowed to deconstruct him. You're not allowed to progress his story in some way. You're not allowed to do something new. But it's okay to do that with other characters. There's a very weird and straight up ridiculous double standard. Yep. Randy feels sorry for Corn Sweat. An uphill battle to be accepted as Supes, and especially if Gadot is back as Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's not going to be a good time. Never is a good time for people who take on these roles, especially when you're taking on a role so soon after one person was that role. That's why this reboot is happening at a bad time. 1 year, 1.5 years, it's not enough. We need more time. We need to just relax. We need to calm down. I don't know if this mic is good for ASMR, but like, we really need to just calm down a little bit. I know in a world of endless content and so much entertainment with that we can access with our fingertips, I know that we can get really impatient with content because we want things right then and there. But I think if we just chilled just a little bit, maybe spent 5 years, no DC content, took a refresh, and then come back and try again. That's what I think. That is what I think. Last question from me. Legion of Doom versus Avengers. Who wins in your opinion? Really depends. Really depends on who's in my Legion of Doom and who is in my Avengers. Maybe I'll make a video on that. You know what? You gave me an idea. Let me write that down. There's so many ways that could go. Maybe I'll make that video one day. But, Legion of Doom versus Avengers. Very interesting. Because I think both teams have very great chances against one another. I mean, Thor's a huge difference maker, but then you have the brains of Lex Luthor, which would be crazy. Bleeding Edge, who would you cast as Batman? Richard Madden. Richard Madden is my Batman right now. That's who I would like. There are so many people who could play Batman. I mean, I think practically there are like 70 to 80% of people out there who could play Batman. You just got to get beefed up for the role a little bit and get into the mindset of Bruce Wayne. But yeah, Richard Madden. I that's who I would go with right now. Something about him. I don't know. I like it. Whoever buys DC should get rid of James Gunn. I feel bad for saying it, but I'm not seeing his vision. Don't worry, you're not alone. I'm not seeing his vision either. Comic book versions, by the way. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, Temple. It'd probably be easier anyways, because there's so many variations you can do. Controller Kimbo. So true. You can only do wholesome Superman or evil Superman. Yeah. And if you do evil Superman, get prepared to be absolutely hated on, because apparently that's a crime to do. I understand if you don't like it. You don't need to like evil Superman. I don't blame you if you don't. But if you do it, it's like hang me. You know, I'm a witch. I'm getting burned at the stake if that's the case, you know? It's weird. It's so strange. TMM's new project has been ASMR this after all. Maybe I'll make an ASMR channel and just talk like that all the time. Yeah, Eobard Thawne alone is a huge threat for the Avengers. Absolutely. If he's part of the Legion of Doom, yeah, that might be all to win. Oh god, if that's the case, Black Adam, Sinestro, Lex, Flash, Avengers is over. It's done. I don't even care if you have Thor. It means nothing to me. It's done. PJ says, I swear if Marvel does Masters of Evil before we get the Legion or Crime Syndicate, I'm going to lose it. You might be losing it then. Because that is probably what's going to happen. Knowing Marvel with DC, the fact that Marvel hasn't already done that is pretty crazy. So honestly, just don't put your money don't put your money on DC right now to do something before Marvel does, just to be safe. If DC does it before Marvel, all right, that's fine, but don't put your money on it at the moment. Superman and Lois is ending, but it could have gone for a few more years, and the DC reboot could have held off for those years. Agreed. I thought Superman and Lois was going to HBO or HBO Max for season 4 or whatever it was. I didn't know it was. I don't. Is it canceled? We sure? We sure about that? Superman and Lois season 4. Okay, they're taking a brief hiatus. Maybe, okay, if anyone knows more information, I'm not going to look it up now, but I could have sworn they were going to Max or something. If that's the case, you're telling me you're going to end it or potentially keep it on a hiatus with Superman fighting Doomsday in such a manner where the scene ends as them fighting on the moon? Ah, it's crazy. Come on. I actually want to see something really quickly. Claymore says, I'm playing DC Dual Force and got exposed to lots of characters I didn't know about. Punchline, for example. I'm not playing DC Dual Force. I still want to get into it, but I've been playing a mobile game. Got bored one day. It's like Candy Crush and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes mixed into one. It's a DC game. I'm forgetting the name of I'm forgetting the mobile game name right now. But Punchline is in that game as well, and I knew of Punchline, but like as a one-off character. Like I didn't know Punchline was a character they used quite a lot of, which is interesting. But I see what you mean. Yeah, it gets you to know other people instead of just the main few. Bleeding Edge Studio says, do you know Professor Geek on YouTube? He thinks Man of Steel is a bad movie and affects society. AKA, I don't like this movie and other people shouldn't like this movie too. That's all I hear. I do know who Professor Geek is. I've never watched one video of his, but that's whenever I find when people use that excuse for movies, that's usually what I just said, people saying, I don't like this movie and you shouldn't either, so let me try and make it a societal issue. Give me a break, man. Yeah, that's dumb. PJ Machine says, do you have anyone you'd want to play Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart? Yeah, Hal Jordan, I would love for it to be the guy, Glenn Powell from Top Gun. But a fan casting for me that I've wanted for years is John Krasinski. I would love John Krasinski to play Hal Jordan. Jon Stewart, I want John David Washington. Those are my two. Jeff XD says, so long as these projects are all comic book accurate, I'm in. But what is comic book accuracy? There are so many comic books with different variations and interpretations of these characters. What do we classify as comic book accurate? I think it's a little too hard to tell sometimes. DWA, it's getting one final season. Oh, okay. So, yeah, then it must be going to HBO. HBO Max, because it's not called HBO anymore. DC Temple, by the way, the director of Blue Beetle wanted to do a Bane movie, but Warner Brothers wanted him to make a Blue Beetle movie. Just an interesting fun fact. Yeah, I heard something about that in one of his most recent interviews. That's interesting. I mean, you could have made Bane like a Black Label, like in Elseworlds, the way they did Joker. They could have done that. I would have been into it. Just looked it up. Punchline's very first appearance was Batman February 2020. Holy crap, that's not long ago. It's like 2.5 years ago. Yeah. Randy O'Donnell, SNL. So, Superman and Lois got a last minute renewal for a final season. But with the strike rumors, it may simply not go into production. A casualty of the strike. Other TV shows may face the same fate. Other movies will too. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. It's already starting. It's not good. You think Superman Horizon would be a good title for a film? Just wondering for a project. Absolutely. I see no problem with that type of title. If you're going to name a movie Superman Legacy, you can name a movie Superman Horizon. Comic book accuracy means trying not to stray too much away from source material to the point where the character is unrecognizable. Hence, I say CW Arrow is overrated because that's not Green Arrow. Okay, that's a fair point. You know, not trying to stray too much away to where the character, you know, is literally not the same person. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yes, I agree. Green Arrow in the CW is a bad representation of Arrow. There are moments where it's okay, but then there are moments where it is straight up bad. I see your point. My pick for Jon Stewart Green Lantern is John Boyega. That is another good one. In my fan cast video I made a month or so ago, I did say that I would like to see John Boyega as Cyborg, but Jon Stewart Green Lantern would be really good too. Brown Destroyer, what should be your Justice League members ideally in movies? If it were me, if I was in control, it would be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Jon Stewart, Green Lantern, Wally West Flash, Martian Manhunter, Zatanna. I always thought the one thing that the Justice League was missing was a magic user. Not the fact that, you know, the Justice League is already way too powerful. They don't need a magic user. But just to add a little bit of depth to that group, I would want Zatanna part of it. And what I would always do is eventually, as the years go on, Zatanna would actually depart from the group, and she would help find Justice League Dark with a couple of other people, and then to take her place would be a Hawkman or a Hawkgirl, probably Hawkgirl. That's what I would do, though. I already have that all planned out in my head. That's something I've thought about a lot. Jeff, would you like to see Del Toro direct a Man-Bat movie? Do you have any film villains from the animated series you would like to see on the silver screen? Well, first of all, I would have loved to see Del Toro. I would have loved to see Del Toro make the Justice League Dark movie. But of course, Warner Brothers had to go off and can that. A villain from from the animated series you'd like to see on the silver screen. Honestly, the way they handled Scarecrow in the animated series, I would like to see a Scarecrow movie like that. You could do a horror thriller type of film. I think that would be really cool. Let's see. Who would you cast as Darkseid? In my opinion, the guy who voiced Kratos should be the new Darkseid. Oh, he would be brilliant. He would be awesome. That guy's such an underrated actor. I would really like him as Darkseid. I always forget his name. But they both appeared on Brooklyn Nine-Nine together. If you guys have seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So first of all, the one guy who could play Darkseid really well, and he played him in a Batman and Superman animated movie, is the guy who played the Commissioner the police captain in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Andre Braugher. This guy here. So this is guy number one. Let me show my screen here. Okay, it's going to show my whole screen. I'm going to be absent for a second. So he could play Darkseid 100%. Okay, there's that guy. Then let me find the other one now. It's going to bug me. I always forget this guy's name. It is so annoying every time I forget his name. But, like, he has the appearance and his voice is just stupid good for Darkseid, bro. This is now my mission for this stream right now. I have to find the guy I'm looking for. And I hate that I always forget his name because I always look to this guy for Darkseid. I've been saying this for years too. I've always wanted this guy to be Darkseid. Then again, the guy who played Darkseid in Zack Snyder's cut, he did a really good job with that as well. He did a really good job for the voice of it at the very least. God, this is so annoying. This is so annoying. Ugh. I don't know if I'll find it, but he was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You know what I'll do? If I think of it, I'll put it like on a community post or something, but I'm forgetting it. Oh, thank you, AMD. Yes. Dennis Haybert. Oh my goodness. Dennis Haybert. I always forget his name. Yes. That is who I would want to play Darkseid. 100% Dennis Haybert. That's it. Dennis Haybert, Dennis Haybert, Dennis Haybert, Dennis Haybert, Dennis Haybert. I have to imprint that on in my brain. Thank you. All right. Man, that took a while. Let's see what else we got here. So Dave Bautista always said he wanted to play Bane. He can't do it in live action, unfortunately, but what if he could voice Bane maybe an animated Nightfall adaptation? That's an adaptation that I thought would have already been done by now, but it really hasn't. But that would be really cool. Really cool. And yeah, Bleeding Edge Studios, Ray Porter. That's who did Darkseid for Zack Snyder. Really good voice. Really good voice. All right, guys, get in some of your last comments here if you can. It's been over 2 hours, so I'm probably gonna head off now. But this stream has been good. I'm gonna answer some of the last couple comments here. Brown Destroyer, I have read recent Superman comics called Superman Warworld. It was fantastic and perfect for the movies. Yeah, that's even a little bit of inspiration from months ago when I made some theory about Mongol being the DCU first main threat. I knew that he was like a big focus in the comics for a time, and I felt like he could be for the DC universe. I think Mongol would be a safe option if you didn't want to go with a Darkseid or a Lantern War or something. Right? Yeah, he would be great as Darkseid. I honestly go watch some of his, like, I think he does like car insurance or financial commercials. Just listen to how his voice, it's brilliant. Gunn on Twitter said that Soups is going to be the age of Corn Sweat. Does that mean Hal and John will be played by older actors since the actor for Guy Gardner is about 50 years old? Yeah, good question. I mean, because if that's because then Hal is no longer the first human Lantern, so it's now Guy, which is, I guess they're just changing it that way. So yeah. Hannah, are you excited to see Barbie? I mean, I don't know if like excited's the word to use it, but like I'm intrigued. I'm interested. Of course I'm going to go see it, so there's a certain level there. All-state commercials. That is what, man, AMD's just coming in with all this info, huh? Yes, all-state commercials. That's where it's from. We had Mongol and Mongol's daughter, so anything is possible. There you go. Why not introduce both? Reverse Flash solos the Avengers. You don't even need Black Adam and Sinestro. Yeah, probably not. So my idea is I would love to see a new DC intro for new DCU where it's inspired by Game of Thrones intro. So, oh, buddy, that would be so cool. That would be awesome. That would be, yeah, I love it. I love it. That would be awesome. Claymore says, the only thing that makes me interested in Gunn's DCU right now is the fact that he likes the Justice League animated show and might bring some elements to the big screen. I agree with you. I'm just adding some caution. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Gunn has been known to lie. Whether it's malicious intent or not, he does lie sometimes. So I'm just saying he can say he's watched the animated series and he knows a lot about it all he wants. Who knows if he actually does, though? It's just pointing that out. Ron Perlman would be a great... I lost the comment. There it is. Ron Perlman would be a great Swamp Thing. Rewatched his Hellboy movies, and he's done great in prosthetics before. Ron Perlman would be so good in so many roles. I even said Ron Perlman would be really good as our Ryan in a New Gods, Old Gods project. It would be really cool. All right, but I think that's it for this stream, guys. Currently, right now, I just got to do a little bit of a shout out right now. I'm going to check. I am at 1,992 subs. I am 8 away from 2,000 subs. 2K. It's been a long journey to get here, but we're getting there. If any of you are new watchers, haven't subscribed to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Help me get to that 2K just a little bit quicker. But this stream was a lot of fun, guys. It was great. A lot of comments. Thank you all for being here. This was a lot of fun. I think we averaged like 20 people the whole stream, which is really good for me. That's awesome. Did you see the apparent leak of the rest of the DCU Chapter 1? It had Teen Titans. If we get Teen Titans, pretty sure we will. Do you think it's a movie or a show? I think they'll change it up and they're going to give us a movie because we've already had shows. We've had the animated shows and we've had the Titans show. I think they would give us a movie this time. But who knows? Who knows? Keep up the good work. Have a great day, night. See ya. 2,000, get it, T.M.M. See ya. Thank you so much. All right, guys, really appreciate it. Appreciate all the love, the support, donations, whatever. Even if you guys are just sitting here talking with me, that's more than I could ask for. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna try and do streaming a lot more often than just once a month. So we'll try and do this again soon. But until next time, everyone, I'll talk to you all every soon. All right, peace, guys.